Hello, everybody, and welcome to Real Crime Stories. I'm your host, retired NYPD Homicide Sergeant Bill Cannon, and today I have a very special guest. Actually, he's been on the show before. He's been on Police Off the Cuff, and he's retired NYPD first grade detective Thomas Hovagim. I won't tell you what his nickname is. I don't think he likes that, but he's been on the show before where he spoke to us about the Sante and Kenneth Kimes case. So he's no stranger to big cases. But tonight he's going to tell us about a case that's sort of unusual. But Tom, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Billy. It's great to be back. How's everything?
Good. It's great to have you back.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Tell us the story. Our fans are dying to hear this story.
They're dying to hear another 19th precinct caper, right?
Well, tell them where the 19th precinct is for our fans in other states and other countries.
Okay. The 19th precinct is on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. It's on. It runs from 59th Street to 96th Street, from Fifth Avenue along Central Park all the way to the river, to the Harlem River.
And one of the dubious distinctions is that it's one of the wealthiest communities in the whole world, right?
It is. It probably the most expensive real estate in the whole world, mostly residential.
And do people walk with their nose up in the air like this?
Quite a few of them do, yeah. Yeah. That's the beauty about being a detective there, because, it's funny, like, you see them at their worst, and it's not with the nose in the air. It's like the tail between their legs, looking for help from you, a lowly detective.
A lowly civil servant.
Exactly. But yet, you mean everything to them at that moment. So that's kind of gratifying.
Till you solve their problem, then you go back to the lowly.
And you go back to the lower rung, right? So true. But so this story tonight, it's not a homicide like everyone's used to pretty much on this show. But it's kind of a funny story that was something small and stupid that pretty much went a long way. So let me name the players.
Okay.
One of the players' names is Norman Schachter. Now you have to picture this guy, big, fat, overweight, redheaded guy, pretty much going bald, dirty T-shirt, the whole bit. He's with a woman named Debbie Gamel, who's his girlfriend. I don't know if they're married. I don't remember, but his girlfriend or live-in at the time. Mm-hmm. They decide to go to Central Park with their 3 huge dogs that they have. Apparently, one of the dogs was off the leash. Now this is in '98, by the way. This takes.
Oh my God, that's a crime in New York City, off the leash.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
Arrested more for that than a shooting,
Well, it's funny you say that, because here comes Sean Considine riding his bicycle, who lets Norman and Debbie know, hey, those dogs are supposed to be on a leash.
That's an Upper East Side person. That's shy to voice their opinion, even at their own peril.
Even at their own peril. So this is like September of '98.
1998. You said.
1998. Now, I'm not involved at all. I don't come into the picture till like 2 years later, but this is just laying the groundwork. What happened?
It's a huge case.
The huge case. So what happens is one of the dogs gets off the leash and chases Considine down, knocks him off his bicycle, and starts biting the hell out of him. So much so, he got like 60 stitches.
Wow.
A bunch of wounds. Like, the dog really ripped him apart. These dogs were, they were big. I wouldn't say attack dogs, but they were nasty.
What kind of dogs were they?
Like a shepherd type. But there is another name for them.
You had a name for it in your.
Yeah, but they're like shepherds. They're the size of shepherds. That's a good question. What were they?
Said the dogs were heavy.
Yeah, they were big. They were big dogs. They were like shepherds, but there was a name for them.
We'll take shepherds. Good enough.
Yeah. So anyway, they proceed to bite the hell out of Sean Considine and really, mess him up pretty good. Cops are called. She winds up getting arrested.
Wow.
For assault. Not having the dogs on a leash. A slew of charges. She must go to Central Park Precinct. Like I said, I'm not involved at all. It's patrol. They arrest her. She gets out. I don't think she goes through the system. It looks like a DAT. I think they DAT'd her. Make a long story short.
Which stands for desk appearance ticket.
Desk appearance ticket. I'm sorry.
She's released from the precinct with a desk appearance ticket with instructions to appear in court on another date.
Right,
Okay.
right, exactly. So,
You know, we speak we speak in acronyms, and
yeah,
a lot of the people don't know what the hell we're talking about. So
right, like the civilian should know, right?
right, sort of explain what the acronym.
Right, right. So basically, instead of putting her through the system and going downtown to jail overnight, they release her with a summons. That's a desk appearance ticket, like you explained. So after this happened, she gets arrested. Sean Considine, the victim, takes a civil suit. He's going to sue her civilly for all the damages and missed work and all that stuff. So during that time, as they're getting closer to her court appearance, now we're talking over a year later. So now we're in 99, maybe pushing 2000. Norman Schachter decides he's going to be the big man. And he tells her, listen, I'm going to take care of this. Don't worry. However, let me back up a little bit. After those dogs were attacked, he had to bring these dogs to this particular trainer in the Bronx to determine if they were able to be trained.
Oh, so the dogs were going to get a timeout.
The dogs were getting a timeout. Yeah, exactly. So he meets this guy, Derek Moultrie. Derek Moultrie is from the South Bronx, and he raises these guard dogs, and he trains these guard dogs. Okay. So now we have Debbie Gamel, Norman Schachter, and we have Derek Moultrie and Sean Considine. Those are the four players.
Okay.
Okay. So Schachter and him strike up a friendship. Now let's fast forward to Debbie Gamel's court date that's coming up. Norman tells Debbie, I'm going to take care of this and get you out of jail, and don't worry about it. Make a long story short, he tells Moultrie what he wants to do. He wants to discredit Sean Considine's reputation. So he says he wants to plant drugs on him and child pornography and beat him up and make it look like he was involved in some kind of drug child porn ring. Derek Moultrie goes along and says, okay, I could take care of that. Derek Moultrie is friends with this guy, Johnson. I don't know his first name, but he's from the neighborhood, from the South Bronx. He happens to be on parole. So
get your local parolee to do it for you.
Right, one of the neighborhood guys. Now we're talking, maybe a year and a half after the incident, because I think the court date kept getting pushed back.
Now, you mentioned also that Considine had over 40 bites from these dogs, right?
Yeah.
So I think that would constitute, maybe not serious physical injury, but surely a physical injury. And I'm surprised that if she was charged, that she even got a DAT for that, because that could be considered, assault. If you sick a dog on somebody.
But that's the thing. I don't think she did that. I think the dog took it upon himself to attack.
So she was charged probably with assault 3rd degree reckless.
Yeah. I don't remember, because like I said, I wasn't involved at that point. But she got charged with some, pretty good fines.
Yes.
Not fines, I mean charges, criminal charges.
Right.
They wound up arresting her. So he hires this guy Johnson and says, listen, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna get money. We're gonna assault this guy. We're gonna plant child porn on him, crack, and discredit him. Then they were gonna call the police on him and drop a dime to set him up. They were in essence looking to set him up.
Right.
So what happens is this guy Johnson's on parole, and he's saying, man, I'm not going back to the slammer for this, but I'm not going to tell the guy no. So here I am, Sunday night in the squad. It's like 10 o'clock at night. It's not busy. I'm like, all right, I'm out of here soon. I'm looking at my watch saying, all right, nothing's going on tonight.
Whenever you look at your watch, that's when something happens.
Exactly. That. I was just going to say, something's happening when you're looking to go home. And it was a Sunday night. Like, you know what I mean? Like Sunday night.
You double want to go home. Yeah.
Yeah. So he comes in and I sit down with him. He tells me he's on parole, and I'm listening to this story. I'm like, this guy, what is he, nuts or whatever? I'm thinking, all right. Now, look, it's Sunday night. There is nobody around to run with this right now. So I tell him, look, come back tomorrow. We had a nice conversation, probably about an hour, and he laid out the details and all that. And meanwhile, I had one of my partners do a background check on him to see what he was all about while I was talking to him. So he comes back the next day, comes back in. He's like, all right, I'm ready to run with this. So I go.
Now you know he's serious. He came back, right?
Yeah, he's serious.
Yeah.
I should back up a little. He was looking to work off some time on his parole. Also.
Oh, naturally. No one does anything. No one does anything for free, right?
That was his That was his motive.
His motivation, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's why he came back in. So now I take it to my boss, tell him what I got. He's looking at me like, with like, what, are you kidding me, really? So I'm like, this could be something. I said, we have an Upper East Side guy, and we have a couple of players. It's not your run-of-the-mill case. So he says, all right,
the victim, Considine.
Yeah.
What did he do for a living?
He was an author of ships. He was an expert, I believe, on nautical sailboats and ships and things like that.
Wow.
Yeah. The guy was a pretty well-to-do guy. Lived by himself, Upper East Side. Walk up, nothing elaborate.
Right.
So I wind up taking it to the inspector of Manhattan North, the Detective Bureau, the boss of the Detective Bureau. I wind up taking it up there. My boss calls him, tells him about it. He goes, all right, have him come up. So at the time it was Kevin Perham. Nice guy. I remember. Yes, I remember him well. Great guy. So I bring it up there. He's like, all right. He goes, wrong with it. So he directs me to the gang unit. Now the gang unit must have been slow. So he gets me 2 undercovers and a sergeant. All right, no problem. So now we start putting the case together.
More attention. Some things get more attention than they deserve, and other things.
Well, it gets better.
Attention.
It gets better. So now we're running with it, and it's going forward. I get a DA on board, a friend of mine on board. Now we're getting the district attorney's detective squad. I get 2 detectives and another sergeant running with me. So I got 2 sergeant and 4 detectives with me. Then as it's going, I make a long story short. Now I get an expert tech guy, with wiring up the undercovers. I mean, I'll explain that, but so I have a whole team of detectives.
But no dog whisperer though.
But no dog whisperer. No. So what happens is the 2 undercovers go with this guy Johnson, the parolee, and they introduce them to him, and he says they're my cousins from North Carolina. They'll handle this job, and he's like, okay, and the undercovers get into the picture with Johnson and with Moultrie. And, now we're up on Moultrie's phone. So now I get a wiretap, right? For Moultrie, the undercovers. And
was this pre-cell phone, or cell phones just coming out around 19?
I believe they were coming out. I think it was the flip phones back then.
Right.
I'm pretty sure.
We talk about cell phones and we realize when you realize going back to 1998, well, what were cell phones like?
Yeah, by now it's like 2001, though, or right on the 2001, right on the turn of the year. So
when remember they used to clone cell phones?
Oh yeah, I remember cell phone in the mid 90s. We used to take them off the drug dealers. They looked like bricks.
Yeah, and cloning was basically capturing the cell phone's electronics and having some way electronically putting it in another cell phone, so you could just use that identifier and bang out about $1,000 worth of phone calls, right?
Right.
I mean, that was.
Now that you mentioned that, yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
I explained it as easily as possible. I'm definitely not a tech guy, but that was common back then,
I just remember in the early 90s, the big brick phones that the drug dealers would have up in the Heights when I was on patrol.
Yeah, it was almost like back then, if you had a cell phone, oh, he's a drug dealer because he has.
Oh, that was a good indication.
Yeah,
on the corner with a big cell phone,
Now everyone's a drug dealer. Everyone has a cell phone, right?
Right. And it's surprising the size that they were and the shape that they were. I'm surprised more of them didn't get shot by having that brick cell phone on him looking like a gun. You know what I mean? Like, it definitely could have been if he had it tucked in his pants or whatever. Who knows? But
sure.
But anyway, so we wind up going up on Moultrie's cell phone and Schachter's cell phone. So and Debbie Gamel's cell phone. So we're set up in the DA's office in a room, and we're listening to 3 separate wiretaps. This is how far this case is going.
It's unbelievable because usually judges to get a wiretap warrant is a huge thing.
It was.
And this judge issued 3 for this dog attack.
3. I mean, talk about getting attention, you know. So this is now, oh, by the way, now I'm turning out of the DA squad, which is great for me. I have an open checkbook. So I'm, you know,
what all kinds of overtime for this.
Oh, we're killing it. The DA squad, you know, the poor undercovers weren't making much money, you know, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But you know, we would take turns 24/7 in the wiretap, you know, in the room. So make a long story short, we're capturing phone calls between Schachter and Moultrie, and then Schachter to his girlfriend, whatever he would call, you know, and talking about what they're going to do and how they're going to do it, how much they're going to be paid. There was even some Western Union payments that went to Moultrie from Schachter, you know. But this is going on. Like, this isn't something that's happening overnight.
And again, Moultrie is the dog trainer who got.
He's the dog trainer.
Got
right.
the parolee. He thought to get the parolee to do this dirty deed.
Exactly.
And the parolee appointed these two guys who he said were his cousins, who were actually undercover cops.
They were undercover from the gang unit.
Right.
Yeah.
I just want to retrace this so our audience understands all these moving players we have here.
Yeah. So with that said, we'll listen to the wiretaps for a while, and we wind up the undercovers, and we're filming this now. We shoot up to the South Bronx, or to the Bronx, I'm sorry, Soundview Avenue somewhere, some park where Moultrie lived. And we're filming the undercovers going up to Moultrie, and he gives them child porn and crack, you know, to carry out the deed.
Now, let me ask you something. I'm not that familiar with the whole child porn laws, but is being in possession of child porn, is that a crime also?
Yes. Schachter was subsequently charged with child porn, and I believe Moultrie was too.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we'll get to it later where he got the child porn from. We'll get into that.
Yeah. So the undercovers get the porn, the photos, and the crack. Okay, so now we have that. Now we have to really put the plan together. Now the plan was that we came up with is we're going to get a detective to be a driver of an EMS bus. We're going to get an EMS emergency ambulance bus for the non-police out there, an ambulance. And we're going to put 2 detectives in it. And the undercovers are going to meet up with the parolee. And we knew Moultrie would be watching this. He didn't tell us, but we were up on a roof with binoculars, or I was, and sure enough, Moultrie's standing on the corner while the EMS pulls on the block. And the plan is to go up there. Prior to this, though, we had to get Considine on board. So I had a meeting with him in his apartment. Said, look, this is what we plan on doing. He's like, all right, let's do it. So he
was actually an actor in this whole play that you.
He was, yes, for a short time. He didn't have many lines, though.
Wow.
He just played the victim. So the ambulance is being driven by 2 detectives who, by the way, we got from emergency service. We had to borrow 2 cops from there to join our traveling
to be qualified to drive the ambulance.
Exactly. So we had to get 2 ESU guys with us.
Wow.
So I mean, it's crazy.
This is huge. This is like this is the most resources I've seen involved in almost any case.
Isn't it insane? Like you got to understand. I'm going through this, and I'm talking to the sergeants, in the DA squad or whatever, and the gang squad, and we're like looking at each other like, do you believe this shit that they're okaying all this and this overtime? It must have been really slow.
Because it was the Upper East Side. There's no place else in the world where they okay this amount of fun.
Not even half of it. I mean, the cops that we had involved, the wiretaps, the warrants, the DA's on board writing me all kinds of warrants. And, it was insane. So, the ambulance pulls up. No, I'm sorry. So the undercovers and Johnson go up to Considine's apartment. They're up there for like 20 minutes. They bloody him up with ketchup. They put makeup on his face.
I hope it was Heinz.
Yeah, I think it was packets from McDonald's.
Yeah.
So they leave. And 15 minutes later, we have the ambulance. We call the ambulance. Said, all right, guys. They were staged like 20 blocks down. They come with the lights and sirens, the whole bit. So we see Moultrie on the corner, the undercovers and Johnson get in the car. They leave. Moultrie's still there, and they don't. He did not show himself to the undercovers or the parolee. In other words, they didn't meet up in the street. He was just watching them. They didn't know he was there.
Right. Take care.